Twice now you've made me taste bitter defeat.
Welcome back to our Video Game Book Club, everyone. This week we are diving into Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. We are on part 2, and I'm not going to take any time because this is a hefty boy. This is a hefty playthrough. So I'm just going to pass it right over to Christian to dive in.
So I'll be honest, we are going to skip most of the gameplay sections in this to just get to the huge star beats because I know, we all got places to be. So, all right, so we pick up in the ravine where we left off after we jumped away from Ocelot. And we sort of make our way through the dark here. You can do a couple different things. You can use your cigar as like a little bit of a light to like see where you're going. You can use the thermal goggles to try to feel something out. But you're doing that all the way up until you find a torch in the back of the cave that you can light and then find your way around. You don't have to do that. You can just fumble your way all the way towards the end where you find the night vision goggles. And then after that, the cave, then you have the night vision goggles for the rest of the cave.
If you walk around long enough, because I found none of those things, it just lightens
Well, the cigar
up.
you just
It just makes it
had that.
Right, but the night vision I didn't find, the door, like, it just gets easier to see. Eventually you're just walking around. Yeah, it does.
Well, in the cave it does, because that's what we're gonna get. So in the cave, once you get down there, there's like the light sort of at the end of the cave that gets brighter and brighter as you keep making your way through that section. And that will lead us to our first boss fight when we get through there. So as soon as we get to the end of the cave here, we get surrounded by hornets or bees. And we jump in the water to get rid of them, and immediately as we sort of come back and surface into the water, the bees come back together to form a person, and once he is fully formed, he does a sick backflip for seemingly no reason, and then screams that we are the sons of the boss, and then announces himself as the Pain. And tells us that he is going to be guiding us to a world of anguish beyond our imagination. And then from there, we are in the fight.
Is he a bee? Like, is he bees?
No,
is he
is not bees.
No. So how did he apparate from bees?
Magic.
I don't think he apparated. I think it just... The way the camera works and the way they revealed him, I think that's what happened.
He controlled bees.
I think he might be bees. Is all I'm saying.
Yes.
He has control over bees, and that is where that will be. That's
when you kill him, does his body flop there and all the bees fly away, or does he explode into a swarm?
We need to get there, don't we? Are we just spoiling things now? Do we want to just talk about the Sorrow boss fight and see how that goes right now? Or get there?
I just think he's bee.
That's fine. Look. It's been a while since I looked it up. I actually don't know the answer anymore. But I do think that it is similar to a situation like some of the other. We already have established that ESP and media, all those things exist in this world. Magic, fantasy stuff. So a man that has complete control over bees that can potentially, turn them into things or turn himself, I don't fucking know. But
let me ask you an actual question about this boss fight. And it's to everybody here, but mainly you, Christian, because you played this game before. So in this boss fight that you're about to talk about, we're on an island in the water. There are bees. He sends many mechanics out, but the gist of the fight revolves around you taking cover in the water, climbing out, and fighting. Preston and I are fighting on easy. And it still took a good amount of time to do this fight. How long would this fight take? How long? No, not hard, but like time. Like, how long would this take somebody on a harder difficulty or like on normal the first time? Like, I feel like just based on mechanics, this took a while.
So just really quick, because I was like, well, Alex is asking this question, I'm going to answer this. The Pain himself is not made of bees. However, he has control over a swarm of hornets. It's actually not bees. whatever.
Yes.
A swarm of hornets that he can use to create a copy of himself. And so what we were probably seeing there is like a little body double situation, little smoke and mirrors trying to make it seem like these things are happening. But that is the answer that is according to our genius Kojumbo. Now, Alex, to answer your question.
The unsaid thing is some of those bees have to be the butthole. That's all I'm saying. Some bees have
Also, he controls them all with a queen that is placed on his back, allegedly.
Oh,
okay.
Either way. So, to answer your question about how long this would take normally, I mean, it depends. So, you can get through most of these fights pretty quick if you plan on just doing the lethal route, right? Like, you can just sit there, shoot, murder. When he has the grenade that comes out, you can shoot the grenade down next to him. He'll take damage from that. Keep shooting him. You can use your AK just to keep blasting him and do that. Your fight can go pretty quick. I think what'll end up happening is that when you beat the game the first time, normally most people will just do it the lethal way because either A, they don't care, or B, because it's never been an issue before in other Metal Gear games before. And then you always go back to do the non-lethal route to like make it harder on yourself. But in general, this one's not too long. I mean, outside of the Ocelot, this is the second fight, right? So like the longest part of this fight is getting in the water, getting back out, running around, doing those things, right? But like the actual, like, if you were just stripping it down to combat moments, once you get the feel for how everything goes. But I would say in your first time of like a trial run, it could take, it could be like a 10-minute probably boss fight, something like that.
Because there are attacks beyond the grenade that you can't block or damage. So the only option is to like jump into the water, right? Mm-hmm. And towards the end when he gets kind of like aggressive, you do just kind of
like the bullet bees.
There are also specific strats for some of these bosses. Now I didn't see the one for this one, but there's some other bosses to where I have strats for to where it's like I can finish them in about 5 seconds. I'm pretty sure one of the bosses I took care of, like I took care of him in like 5-10 seconds.
Oh, I have not looked up anything on this game this time around.
Yeah.
I'm going non-lethal.
They're also just like before, and this we will not dive into this, but obviously using the codec to talk to other people can give you hints about the different ways that you're supposed to do things, or little Easter eggs of different things that you can do. So there's all of that stuff as well.
I did remember
but
the codec.
The strat for this one is legitimately just how do beekeepers get rid of bees, like, or like docile them, like
Smoke.
in real life? Smoke. So when you use a smoke grenade in this, it will dissipate all of the bees around him.
Except for maybe the queen, which you might be able to shoot in the back of. I'm assuming is the weakness. I don't know this one, but.
Well, so you just, you're going for headshots here, really, to get the most damage out of him, right? So whether you're doing the lethal route or the non-lethal route, you're going for headshots. You use smoke grenades to dissipate all of the bees, shoot him, and then rinse, repeat, back and forth.
That's annoying. That's annoying because it's the answer that makes the most sense, right? Yeah. Like as soon as you said, like, how do you make bees like docile? I was like, oh, smoke, clearly. Like that's
so you use a smoke grenade, and you'll have found on the way there, depending on, but there's like 15 of them get from the beginning of the game till now. There was 15 smoke grenades placed randomly, like not 15 all at once, but like 2 here, 3 here, 4, whatever, right? So 15 will have somehow potentially could make their way into your inventory by this point.
Yeah.
Okay, so the end of that fight, we do it whether you do it lethally or non-lethally, but at the end, once we take him down, he starts repeating the pain 3 times before he explodes into 1,000,000 bees, hornets. After that, we are able to make our way through the back of the cave and back out into the jungle. And once we walk into the jungle, we are met with a scene of Snake hearing something up above him, and he sees soldiers on hovercrafts that are scanning through the swamp, sort of like mangrove area, or through the swamp, the area that we're in, right? And we need to make our way through that swamp to get to the warehouse that's on the other side. So something that you can do here to make this very easy on you, otherwise you're just doing it as a normal sneaking mission. But if you had gotten the crocodile hat that I was talking about before. You literally just put the crocodile hat on and then swim right through, and they just assume that you're a crocodile, and you have no issues. You can also just do whatever you want to do.
You can also just fucking swim and book it the fuck out, because I was like trying to sneak, but then one of them found me, and then I'm like, okay, well fuck it, I'm just gonna keep on swimming because it's just a straight shot. And all of a sudden, like I'm hearing like, at the end, like release the mortars, and they're like shooting mortar guns at me and like trying to hit me and shit. I'm like, oh fuck! So I'm just swimming. I'm like, let's see if I make it out. I made it out just fine.
Yes, you can. Yeah, that is a way that you can do it.
In general, I've been playing the game the way it's supposed to be played, and I just did fine swimming through. So dodging the lights and other stuff.
Yep. Yeah. So you do that, but if you wear the crocodile hat, you literally just swim right through, and they just assume you're a crocodile.
I don't have a crocodile
That's
hat.
But we make our way through that little swamp area, and when we get there, we get to the entrance of the warehouse, where we are met with another cutscene. So we first see Sokolov sort of arguing with a soldier on the dock here to this warehouse, and he says that he's not going to continue work anymore. And then Volgin and Eva come around the corner, and with Volgin saying, "How many times do I have to tell you this?" And then he immediately shocks Eva, and it makes her fall down a flight of stairs and like tumble in front of Sokolov here. And Sokolov reaches forward and calls her Titania, and is like, and Volgin warns that he will keep doing this every single time that Sokolov doesn't do what he's supposed to do. And Sokolov responds by saying, "Damn you, Volgin." To which Volgin decides that he's going to pick Eva up by her head and then shock her again. And the soldier then shoves Sokolov forward. But Ocelot actually tells the soldier to wait and tells Sokolov to turn around. And Ocelot has a new game that he plans on playing with people, prisoners, anybody really going forward from this moment, where he wants to play Russian roulette with everybody that he meets. This is his first time doing that.
Multiple guns.
Yeah, so from this point he tells
ridiculous.
Sokolov that he's loading a single bullet into one of the 3 revolvers that he has, and he's going to pull the trigger 6 times and let God decide, basically what his fate is here. And on the 5th trigger pull, Sokolov pees himself.
He does, which is
loves doing
every
this to
game.
prisoners.
Yep. Every game.
All the times this game.
Yeah. And in the middle of that, Ocelot tells Sokolov that his luck hasn't run out just yet, but then coming from the side, the boss shows up and snags the right gun out of the air and then shoots it into the water. And then tells Ocelot that luck means nothing out on the battlefield. And then Volgin starts to laugh maniacally before having Sokolov taken away. And the boss tells Ocelot that he needs to behave from now on, and that the Cobras are going to take care of us, Snake. And then disassembles the gun and shoves it into his chest, with Ocelot walking away very sad that he was just punked out in front of everybody. As he's leaving, Volgin then looks over at the boss and asks if the CIA dog has been disposed of yet, us. And she lets him know that not only are we still alive, but that the pain is dead, which sends Volgin into a rage. And he punches a hole in the wall and says that he may be a child, but he is definitely one of yours. And then says that he believes Khrushchev may have a hand in all of this, and that Snake, has to be eliminated before the final test. But the boss says, "Don't worry, the Cobras are going to take care of it," and then says the Fear is up next to try and have Snake eliminated. And I put here that after the Fear runs off like a freak, it then cuts to Volgin, looking at the end, the character at the end, and asking why he is always sleeping. To which the boss responds that he is saving all of his energy for the battle, and that whenever he wakes up, it will be the end for Snake. And then it starts to pour down rain. Volgin looks over at Eva.
After that line, my first thought was, well, then wouldn't you just want to send him at me first? Then,
given his skill set, he needs to be placed somewhere in waiting for us.
All right, sure.
But either way, yeah. But it starts to pour down rain. Volgin looks over at Eva and says that Sokolov isn't worthy of your love, and then that she can entertain him until the rain stops. Then he starts to walk away and he mutters "Kuwabara, Kuwabara" under his breath before he walks away.
He does. Yeah, that was
Eva
not
gets
that
up
was
to-
not awkward or jarring at all.
Yeah.
He just
The best part about this is at this point in the series, like you're like, well, that's going to mean something later, I'm sure.
Sure.
Like I'll just have to wait to figure out what that is. And then Eva gets up to follow him, and the boss stares up at the sky and says, "The sorrow, is that you?" Looking up at like the rain. She then walks into the warehouse, and we are left with trying to get into that warehouse now. So there's an Easter egg here. As soon as we get out of this cutscene, the End's life bar is shown on screen.
Yeah, I was getting ready for
now-
it. Like, oh shit, this is where we fight him. All right, damn.
Yeah, there's two things that you can do here. You either wait for him to get wheeled away by one of the soldiers, and then you make your way into the warehouse as normal, because that soldier is then taking the End, obviously, to where we will end up fighting him later. Or, if you did pick up the sniper rifle before this, you can shoot the canisters on his wheelchair and kill the End right here.
Oh shit.
that's cool.
that is cool.
Yes. If you do that here, it means that obviously the boss fight later will change. I'll explain that when we get there. I'm assuming that no one here did that.
Nope.
No.
Right. I think the fight with the End is way better and cooler than what you end up doing. But I will say for this Easter
second
egg here, if
playthrough,
you-
like that's great.
yeah. So what'll happen though is if you call the Major doing this, Snake will be like, "Hey, I took out the End," and the Major will be like, "Are you serious? That's like amazing news. He fucking is an asshole. Like this is great. That's just one less Cobra that you have to worry about, and you got him while he was unsuspecting. This is amazing news." And Snake's like, "Meh," like okay, and then the Major goes, "Are you upset because you wanted to test yourself against like the most legendary sniper that the world's ever known?" Snake's like, "I mean, like a little bit, like I did." And he's like, "That's fucking dumb. No, like you could have died going against him. Like it's better to do this now while he's just fucking asleep. Like you did a great job." And that's where so it's a little Easter egg conversation for that. So we take care of the guards in the front of the warehouse, make our way through the warehouse. And we end up in the Gorky South jungle, which is that's a place.
It's words.
Apparently.
It's words. Yeah, it exists.
Yeah, and so when we get here, we are warned that there is traps all over this place, and we need to be on the lookout for them. The easiest way to do that is to wear the thermal goggles, and you will see where all of the traps are located up here, and you can just make your way through there super easily. If you don't, it's a lot of trial and error of either getting swung on by logs with spikes or getting pulled up by things. Use the Kodak, and you can, after that, use...
One easy about
You can say no, but I'm just saying, when you get pissed off about
I
it...
first
remember, I remembered in this game, I used the codec 3 times,
Yeah.
not in boss fights, but 3 times to help me find where I was
I'm
going.
very
And
Good
this
job
is
for
one of
you
those.
listening to
Thank you.
dialogue. But no, it's
Okay.
I've seen traps. I know there's traps there. I don't need a codec to tell me there's traps there. I'm trying to find them as I go. I'm doing fine.
Yeah,
I'm
but
not
if it
using
gives
them.
you a hint that says, hey, use your thermal goggles, you might be able to see them better, then you go, okay, and you put them on, and then you walk through just fine.
I don't need no thermal goggles. I got through just fine.
Yeah. So, anyway, we get through that, and we get into the lab exterior area where we sneak through a hole in the wall. And once we get into the lab, we put on the scientist disguise from there, and we are making our way through there to try to get to Sokolov. And we make our way into the basement of the lab, where we are met with a scene of an old man in an office who heard us come in, and then says that if we were looking for Sokolov, he's not here anymore. Snake then pulls his gun on him when the old man spins around, and he tells us to put that thing away because it's going to spoil his drink, and that we must be the intruder that everybody is talking about, and then calls us a typical capitalist dog with no manners.
Yep.
Snake then remarks back, asking who the old man is, and he gets very upset by this, saying that he cannot believe that we've never heard of him before, and that he is Alexander Leonovich Granin. That he is the man of some importance if he does say so himself. He then goes on to tell us that he is the foremost weapons scientist in the Soviet Union and the head of the Granin Design Bureau. He is also part of the Order of Lenin and was given the title the Hero of Socialism. And that he was given these awards because of his brilliant contributions to society, He then tells us that it was thanks to his work that they were able to stamp out the Nazi scum during World War II, and that he was the one that created the ballistic missile system that the Americans fear so much. Snake then asks him immediately right after this if he's hammered, and Granin then says that it's because of Sokolov that he is here, drowning his sorrows because he has nothing to do now, and that he's here. Oh, and sorry, now that he's here in this building, and says that it has made it, that Sokolov has made it so that his research has come to a grinding halt, and then pulls out the design documents for Metal Gear Rex. If this is a little Easter egg here, but he then asks Snake if he is aware of the missing link, and says that his design would have been the missing link between infantry and artillery, a kind of Metal Gear, if you will. To which then Snake goes, Metal Gear, and you're like, yep, there you go, Kojima, he did it. You worked into this one too. He then says that he is not going to sit around and do nothing, though, and that he is going to send these. He's going to instead send these documents to his friends over in the U.S. to get back at his own government for doing this to him. Now, this is obviously huge because now this explains exactly how the Metal Gear Rex made its way to those armed scientists in the beginning of Metal Gear Solid 1.
Did you notice the Easter egg model in the background?
I did not see this. Which one?
There's a little model of one of the Zone of the Enders.
The Zone of the Enders.
Yeah,
I saw that.
Yeah. Jetty back there. Yep.
I meant to note that and I forgot. Yeah.
Yes.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
It was
With
back
Jetty.
there. Okay. All right.
Yeah. With Jetty back there. Yeah. I think there's another. I think it might be in 4. I don't remember, but there's Anubis from Zone is also in one of these. I think. But yeah, so Snake tries to change the subject to Sokolov, but Granin keeps talking about his work and then asks us, what do we think about these? And then gestures down. And Snake assumes that he's trying to talk about his shoes and then compliments them. But then Granin corrects him and goes, no, I'm talking about my legs. And he's saying that the legs on the Metal Gear would have made it so that it was a truly terrifying weapon because it could walk anywhere. But then he's like, but also none of this matters because his project has been completely canceled and the Philosopher's Legacy has been handed over to Sokolov. Snake then asks what that is, and Granin tells him that the Philosopher's Legacy is a giant sum of money that came from all sorts of different sources around the world during World War II, and it was all money that was laundered through Volgin's father for a group called the Philosophers. He then tells us that at the end of the war, Volgin's father ended up with this entire sum of money somehow and left it all to Volgin as an inheritance, and that's how all these projects have been getting funded. He also tells us that Sokolov has been moved to Volgin's fortress of Groznygrad along with the Shagohod, and that they are going to begin the final test tomorrow. He then tries to stop us from going there, but says that if we are dead set on it, he's willing to help us because of the compliment that we gave him on his shoes. And he tells us that if we head up the mountains, there is a sewer drain that runs along the sides of the base that we should be able to use to get in there. And then he gives us a key card that will open the locked door that will let us make our way towards the mountain. Once we get through, get to the mountain. Snake then asks why he is helping us, and Granin explains that unlike Sokolov, he has never once thought about betraying his country because he loves it that much and he wants to remain a hero, but he will not be hounded into a corner to waste away, and then says that he will be staying here to drown his sorrows for a bit more, and then does a cheer to capitalism before sending us on our way. So right here, before we keep going, I just want to say I do like the theme that has started already in this game about the effects of blind patriotism and what it does to people and different things like that. And so I think Granin is actually a really good character, and I like this moment that, between him and Snake. Mm-hmm. So that is our last scene in there. So we make our way back through the lab and make our way back towards the warehouse. And once we get out of the warehouse and into that jungle scene there, on our way back to the warehouse, when we hit the jungle scene there, we are met with a scene of somebody watching Snake through the trees. And then Snake gets shot with a crossbow bolt right through his leg. And through the trees, and then once the person lands in front of us, we are met with the fear, and we are now in our next boss fight. So now we have the fear fight here. So obviously, many different ways that you can tackle this. One of the easier ways, or one of the intended ways, is again in this area using the thermal goggles. You'll be able to spot wherever the fear is running against the trees and all these other things, and shoot at him that way. Obviously, he hits you with a poison crossbow bolt. So one of the things that you should do at the beginning of this fight is open up the cure menu and get it out of you and cured, so that you're not poisoned the rest of the fight. There is also different Easter eggs, or an Easter egg for an easy way to do this is that after you do the rip out the arrow and do the poison, you can take one of your fake death pills that you have and fake your own death, which will make the fear think that you have died, and he will walk up to you, examine your body, and then turn his back to you. And when you do that, or when he does that, you can then take the revive pill in your tooth, shoot back up out of the death menu, and then you have basically free shots on him from behind him, right? And you can throw stun grenades to stun him and keep shooting at him and get him caught in a loop sort of here. You can do plenty of things.
That's fun.
Yep. But that is... that's mostly is that you're just dealing with him running around between the trees, shooting different stuff at you, and trying to dodge, look out for his traps. You can also, during this, if you, while he's running around the floor, you can take poison food, like your poison, like if you picked up any poison dart frogs along the way here, you can poison like rations, throw them on the ground. The fear will pick them up and eat them, because I'll explain this part in a minute, but the fear is constantly running low on stamina all the time. And so he will go to eat food, and then it'll poison him, and he'll take damage, and you can do it that way too. So the non-lethal version of this fight, when you kill him, it drops his camo. That's the same for all of these, right? Is that you get a special camo here. This camo is one of the best camos in the game. It will automatically blend Snake into almost any environment that he's in. However, it completely drains your stamina while you wear it.
Watch it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes down. Mm-hmm.
And so, and that's also to allude to the fact, right? That shows that he's hungry. That's why he's running around grabbing any food that he can find while he's on the forest and doing all that stuff, right? But yeah, so I guess I'll just pause here very quickly to talk about how people felt about this fight, and then we'll go on.
I'll go first, only because I think Preston may have looked up a strat for this, and I want to see if I was anywhere close or if I just got lucky. Because this is the one that I texted you guys where I was like, I think I found a speed run for this, or I just broke the game. It wasn't nothing special. So it starts off, I get shot in the leg, and I'm like, okay, I need to heal. So what I do is I just ran straight left, and I was like, if I can put my back up against a wall, I can figure out where he's going. So I ran left where there's like a little ramp up, right? Like, the 2 levels. So I get on the second ramp, and I'm standing there beside a tree. I'm like, okay, I have good viewing. And he jumps to the back corner, and I see him. It's like, oh, he's just there. So I pull out my gun. Because my strat for every fight is lethal until the last shot, non-lethal in the last shot, get the camo. That's what I've been doing every fight. So like, sure. I'm shooting him, and he just gets in a loop where he goes, jump away, but he jumps to the tree above me. So I just look up and I just shoot, and he jumps back to the tree. And every time he's jumping, I don't know if I'm too close. He's not firing back. So he's literally just jumping between these 2 trees, and I shot him. And finally he jumps to the far one when his health got low enough where he needed to eat. And I just saw where he was. He was right in front of me. I just turned to the right and shot him, and he jumped back to the first tree, and I killed him. I was like, okay. It was like 7 seconds. I was like, all right, fair enough.
Yeah. I do know that there is in the Pain had this before too. There is sort of like AI manipulation that you can try to do, and so I think you might have just bumped into one of those
accidentally. Yeah,
but that's great. Yeah.
I did the same way Christian mentioned earlier, which was
okay.
I was watching the strategy guys, so I'm like, he fakes a death. I'm like, okay, all right, and then you do the pillar revive. He's turned around, and you throw a stun grenade like right at him as he's turned around. And if you angle yourself properly enough, you can just whip out your AK-47 and just drain him right there. So I did that for a little bit, but I didn't get him fully. Like, I think the stun grenade hit me a little bit too, so I didn't see him at first. So there was a little bit of the usual of, yes, turn on my thermal goggles, see where he's jumping around at, shoot him. For the most part, though, it's pretty straightforward. You're just trying to avoid getting shot by those poison darts. And if you do, pull it out, hit the ointment, whatever it is, and then you just wait for him to jump down, shoot him. Maybe shoot
I
him
love-
up top.
I love the idea of Preston tossing a flashbang and then his eyes just wide open staring at it before it
He's
goes
like, oh
off.
shit, I can't
Yeah,
see anything.
Yeah. But yeah, okay, cool. So we finished that fight and then
Yeah.
oh, 1 second. Hold on.
They made this guy. I mean, Kojima just made him Kojima creepy. Like he immediately drops into like a frog stance and his tongue's
Yeah, he's
out.
proto
He's like-
vamp, dude. That's
All right,
it is. He's proto vamp.
Yeah.
But yeah, so once we defeat him, the fear is hanging between the trees, or between like all the different ropes and like different things that he was using. And he tells us that he can see the fear, and then yells the fear one more time again before exploding into a million crossbow bolts that we duck behind a tree to dodge. From there, we make our way back to the warehouse. And we get into the warehouse, back through the locked door using Grandin's key card. And we make our way into the jungle that leads to the mountains. And we get a call from Eva, who tells us that we need to hurry because Sokolov is just putting the finishing touches on the Shagohod, and that Phase 2 tests are already complete, and that afterwards the Colonel is probably going to kill him if he thinks that the CIA is closing in on him. Eva then asks us if we know how to get to the fortress, and we tell her yes. We're going to the top of the mountain to get to the old access tunnel through to the sewers. And Eva asks how we even know about that, and we tell us that Grandin told us while he was drunk, and she is even shocked by that information. But says that the key he gave us is only good for the door we just came through and not for the tunnel door in the mountains. But she assures us that she will figure something out and that we need to meet her at the top of the mountains. However, before that, she warns us that at the base of the mountains, the legendary sniper, the End, is waiting for us, and that we shouldn't underestimate him as he is known as the father of modern sniping. We make our way through the jungle here, and then we find ourselves at the end of the jungle, at the base of the mountain, where we run into a scene that shows Snake sneaking through the trees, and then we see the End, who is sleeping on a cliff face, and his parrot lands on him, and it wakes him up, and he leans into the scope of his rifle and asks the forest for the strength to take this final prey, and to let him linger in this world a little longer, because he has already slept enough for a lifetime.
Dude, this
Then a beam of
soliloquy
light.
was so funny. Like I was just
Yeah.
giggling as he was talking. I'm like, okay, bro, you
Yeah.
do you.
And then a beam of light shoots through the sky and lands on his back, and he sighs and then says, "You have my thanks." And then says that he has us to thank for this, or he has to thank us for showing up, because if we hadn't, then his sleep would have been eternal, and tells us that he will be our end. Eva then calls us to tell us that the forest is divided into 3 areas, with the river, plateau, and clearing, and that he will be lying in wait in one of those places, that we need to be as stealthy as possible to get the drop on him, and then we begin the fight. Now, there's something here at the end fight. There's multiple different Easter eggs here. I love every single one of them. So I'm just going to go through them. One is his parrot. If you go to the far left side, you'll actually see it on one of the buildings there. You can trank dart this parrot, pick it up, and then capture it in your animal cage, which is like a whole other thing, right?
I just shot
Secondly,
it.
huh?
I just shot it.
That's also something you can do. Yep.
Yeah.
So there's a couple different things here. The End is the only boss fight that does not drain Snake's health. He is specifically using non-lethal trank darts in his sniper rifle. And you'll notice that because it's only your stamina that goes down. It is never your health. And so what'll happen is if your stamina goes all the way down, he will pick you up, or have somebody come pick you up, and you will be taken back to the jail at the bottom where you are at with Grandin, and you will have to go all the way back and fight him. Now, in this moment, you have 2 things that can happen. Either it takes you so many times to beat it that like 7 days of game time passes, or you can just turn the game off and wait 7 days and then come back, and the End will die of old age here.
I love
That's
that.
a nice. That's great. I like that.
I
so
know
good.
you can also manipulate the counter, right? Which I think that's the old thing, like your timer on the game to do it
Yes.
too. But I love that. That's such a cool
Yeah,
touch.
it's so good. I love that one. So the other thing is, if you had taken the opportunity to kill him earlier, This fight is way more annoying. You get in here and it's the entire Ocelot squad that's waiting for you, and you have to kill every single one that's in waiting in all these different parts of this little arena to end it, which is just way less cool than this one. So you have otherwise you have a couple different options, right? So you either take care of him lethally here, or you can do the non-lethal route, where you're sneaking around doing different things, and then you can use like the method that I always use that does a shit ton of damage. When you were in the lab area, and you pick up if you've picked up the cigarette smoke spray that like it's a fake cigarette
stuff,
that then blows like a thing. If you sneak up on the end and then hold him up with your gun, he will go to drop his sniper rifle. Now, when he goes to drop his sniper rifle, what he does is then reaches for a stun grenade really fast, sets it off, and then runs away from you, and you have to try to chase after him. However, as soon as he goes to put the sniper rifle down, if you unequip your gun, use the cigarette smoke to do it's like a third of his stamina gauge. It goes all the way down. Then really quick, switch back to a stun grenade, throw it out, stun him, and then keep smoking cigarette and just doing that little thing over. You can one cycle him in like 30 seconds and just smoke him right there. You also have the other option of you can try to counter snipe him here if that's what you want to do, if you want to get into, because when you are looking through him through the scopes or whatever, you'll see his scope shine so you both will see each other shoot, do that whole thing. But yeah, so before I get to the end here, to the end of this fight, I'll let you get, what did you guys do? How did you guys feel about the fight?
So I saw the way you were talking about with sneaking up on him. He automatically sees me. I just didn't have that path being proper. So I just kind of tried to pick him off from the distance for a little bit. He will continuously move around. But then once you kind of just try to make your way towards him, then you can kind of see where his footprints are going. You can kind of just chase after him that way. That's what I end up doing for most of this thing, just kind of chasing after him, getting a couple pot shots in, waiting for him to run away again, and take him out. He wasn't too big of a deal, but also easy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I walked in, I saw the bird first. I popped the bird because I feel like it's going to give me away. And then I started crawling around, and I saw a scope. So I sniped him once. And I'm like, oh, cool, okay, I figure out how this is supposed to go. Then I spent the next 10 minutes walking from place to place trying to figure out where the F he was to see a scope again, and never could. And I got close to a tree, and he saw me, and he stunned me and ran away. So I immediately pulled out the codex. It's like, hey, WTF, what, with the codex. And they're like, maybe you could use the thermal goggles and see where he went. And I pulled out thermal goggles, and I saw his footprints. I was like, oh, this is how I do this. So I sniped him 3 times. I think 4 would kill him. So I sniped him 3 times, which took him down to 20-ish%. And then the last couple shots were with the stun gun and knocked him out. Yep.
Nice. Yeah, so then after that last shot, the end goes down and thanks the spirits of the forest, and that says the boss would be proud of us, and that it's time for the younger generation to rise. And then he says that he's been wandering for more than a century, and it's time for his journey to come to a close. That he has no regrets, and then in the middle of him saying that, he explodes, and his dentures fly out of his mouth. And then he explodes into a bunch of butterflies, and off in the distance, a bunch of tree roots move out of the way for us. And it's the jungle letting us through, and we make our way to the base of the mountain from there. And this is where we get the infamous ladder scene coming up here.
Before you said it, I love this weird implication that Kojima just created in this game where every boss you kill, they just explode into thousands of whatever they are.
Yeah.
The poison darts. I'm just is he made of poison darts? What are we doing here, Kojima?
So, I think the implication is that all of them have been booby trapped.
Okay.
And you get the sense, especially in the End's case, that this was not something that he knew about, because he's in the middle of talking, and then he even gets shocked when it happens, and he explodes. So I think the implication here is that they've been booby trapped as one last chance to kill Snake, and maybe it's something that the boss did, right? I mean, maybe outside of the Cobras knowing the boss, this could just be something that she's doing to try to get at Snake, or whatever, right?
Last thing before we move on, I just have to say, because we didn't talk about it here, the end, I have fallen in love with these bosses, and when the end goes to scope in, and he gets a chameleon eye that like pops
that goes
out
out
of his head.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild, absolutely wild.
The end is one of my favorite characters that Kojima has come up with. He is the way that I think somebody like Quiet should have been done, right? Because the implication, if you talk after you kill him, if you talk to some people in the codec, they mention that his files that he is a photosynthetic, as in like he will get energy from and so it's like same thing as Quiet, except done in a way better way that's not fucking weird and horny. But yeah, so we get to the infamous ladder scene. Now, Preston, I promised you that I would tell you about an Easter egg that was in the new Donkey Kong game because of this when we got here. So there is a similar-ish ladder that is very long that Donkey Kong climbs up, but instead of playing the Snake Eater theme, it plays the DK rap.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I heard the rap was more similar.
Yeah, so that's it's a shout out to Snake Eater in the new Donkey Kong game.
I enjoyed this climb. Because I finally got to live the moment that I know I've heard so many people talk about. It's popped up other places. It was just fun. And
I've never heard of this. Yeah, I've never heard of it.
Really?
When I played it originally, obviously it was fresh for me, but it was it's a moment, man. I actually still think it hits, and I think
It's a
works.
nice moment. Yeah. You go up there. It's a little long in the tooth, but also like once the music starts hitting, you're like, okay, I see what he's doing here. It's just like a little.
And so I think
like
the thing is when you listen to the lyrics of this song too, like I think that now where we're at in this game, like it's annoying because he does this in a lot of his stuff, but like there's actually a message about Snake's growth throughout this game, even in the lyrics of this song. So it's like Snake going up this ladder, dealing with already that all he's dealt with, dealing with these conflicting feelings about the boss and doing all this other stuff, and then having the lyrics of this song that are basically saying the same thing, like coming through while he's climbing up and doing this. I think just it's such a great scene that only somebody like Kojima is going to come up with to try to do in one of his fucking games. But yeah, so we get to the top of this ladder scene, and I guess just to be very clear, it's a very long ladder that you climb up, and the theme, but absent of any music, is playing. So it is just an a cappella version, playing with basically the wind of a mountain in the background playing as you're climbing up, which is very good. So we get to this mountain section, and this, again, it's 3 areas. You're walking through the mountains, you're trying to dodge a helicopter flying around, fighting people. We are going to get through, it's just as... you get Preston kill. What's just so fun, I cannot wait for us to get to a later boss fight, because there will be something that Preston's playstyle had in store for him that probably made that fight difficult compared to anybody else's, but we'll get there. Or, more difficult, I should say. So we make it through that mountain section, we get all the way to the mountaintop ruins, and we find Eva in the middle of getting her biking suit on, and then Snake coughs to announce himself in the room, and Eva spins around and says, well, that was quick, and then kicks a pair of boots underneath the table. Snake then makes a comment that she looks like she needs some rest, and Eva says that she is fine, it's just that playing these 2 roles is exhausting. And then Snake asks where she got all these cuts all over her, and Eva says that it was from Volgin, and that he gets off as torturing people as a sadist, which makes sense for Volgin. She then asks if seeing that many scars is strange for Snake, and he says no, it's the same for him. And Eva asks if she can see them, and he just says plainly with no emotion, no.
No. Just straight up, no.
No. And then Snake asks about a certain scar near her stomach, and Eva says that she got it while she was defecting to the Soviet Union. And Snake actually calls bullshit on this and says that it has to be much older than that, especially because she worked a desk job. And Eva replies that she's not going to tell him about it because a girl has to keep some secrets to herself. She then says that... She then says that they have to get a move on quickly because it looks like Khrushchev's men are on their way to try and stop Volgin. And if we don't hurry, this place will be even more locked down than it is now. She then gives us the key that leads to the old access tunnel to the fortress. And then she gives us some instant noodles and tries to hit on Snake afterwards by telling us that if she kissed us, she thinks that we would taste like a wild beast. Snake, as usual, just ignores her advances and immediately asks where Sokolov is being kept inside the base. She then tells us exactly where he is on the west side of the fortress, but says that the part of the base that he is locked down, or that he is in, is locked down, and we will need to steal clothes of Major Radonovich to try and find to get into Snokolov. And here is another little Easter egg where this is Raiden's model, but in Metal Gear Solid 3, right?
Radonovich. Get it?
Yeah. The best part is that this scene where Snake, so later, obviously, when we get to this part, we're stealing his clothes or whatever, but this scene where she shows Raiden walking around or whatever, this was actually part of the original Stinger trailers for this game, like at an E3, and people could not, the amount of people that were theory crafting, trying to figure out a way about how Raiden being in here. And at the end of the day, so they, later, obviously the game comes out, they asked Kojima, like, why he did this, and he was like, because we thought it'd be funny. Like, it was just straight up
That's like why when you see the trailer for Death Stranding 2, which I saw before playing 1, but, like, I went back and watched it since, and you see, like, Troy Baker as, like, that weird clown with a guitar, I don't theory craft, I don't do anything, I just go, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because nothing you come up with will make sense for what Kojima decides to do inevitably.
There's
you
no
just
point in
have
trying to figure
there.
it out. No point at all.
Just
It's not going to figure it out when you're playing the game either. So it's fine.
Just get there.
Yeah.
You just
Just
gotta
let it
get there.
happen. Just let it happen.
So she also mentions that she has stolen a WIG air vehicle or air-to-ground vehicle to help us make our escape once this is all over. We then go to leave, but before we do, we are asked what the deal is between us and the boss. Snake then mentions that the boss was like his mother and a mentor to him. Eva then asks if we loved her, and we say that it wasn't like that, and that it's something deeper than that. And mentions that half of us just belongs to her. Eva then says that she then asks us if we hate her, since we don't love her, and Snake gets frustrated and asks if it has to be one or the other. And Eva says that she believes so. And Snake says that she couldn't possibly understand the relationship that they have, because for 10 years he and the boss lived and died together. To which Eva responds, "So you think you can kill her now then?" Which catches Snake off guard and asks us to confirm if that's our mission. And Snake says nothing in response. Then Eva moves on to ask us if there's anyone we like or if there's someone special in our lives, and we respond by saying that we have never been interested in other people's lives. She then asks us about the boss again, and we insist that it was different than what she's implying. So then she asks how we feel about her, and Snake says that he should be asking her the same question. She then responds to that she can fall in love with anyone if the mission calls for it, and says that it could even be with Snake, and then tries to kiss Snake immediately from there, and Snake just stands there, does not do anything, and just lets it happen. And then she asks what's wrong, and as soon as Snake would go to a bunch of gunshots go off in the distance, or what we think is gunshots at the time, and we run outside. She then tells us that she will see us around because she has to get back to play her other part. So just really quick here before we go into this next part, I actually do like that they touch a little bit on the relationship that the boss and Snake have at this point, where it's not just like a romantic interest. Like they make extra clear to talk about the fact that this is not a romantic interest whatsoever. Like it is a completely, it's like a best friend, mentor, like, she brought him along, sort of raised him, like that kind of relationship. Someone that he trusted way more completely than somebody that you would just like be with. You know what I mean? Something like that. So I do like that they take a minute to like call that out. But then we zoom in on the base with the binoculars and find out the noise we were hearing was actually Volgin beating the shit out of an oil drum. And on the final hit is sent flying into the air into a bunch of other oil drums. But the bloody body of Granin comes out. Ocelot then comes over and asks if Volgin was able to get it out of him, and Volgin responds that Granin died before you could get out of him. Ocelot then asks if that means he wasn't the spy, and Volgin then reaches down and pulls a transmitter from the bottom of Granin's shoes. Now, if we remember earlier, Granin actually mentioned to us that these shoes came from Eva/Titania, so there's something there. And when he shows the transmitter to Ocelot before blowing it up in his hand, Ocelot goes, well, then this must mean that he was the spy. And Vulcan remarks that it's possible that somebody else was just using him and that he didn't know anything. Ocelot then gets upset at this and was like, well, if that's the case, you just killed another comrade of ours without being sure. And Vulcan laughs and says that comrade or not, Granite has no use of them anymore anyways.
I
Ocelot,
liked this weird Ocelot like more morality thing that he had. Again, like this young Ocelot, like the way his character's changing. I really like what they did with him.
Yeah. And so Ocelot then points at him and says that he does not approve of Vulcan's methods, and Vulcan stares down Ocelot and says that he doesn't need his approval because he's the one who's in charge. Ocelot then brings up the nuclear test that Vulcan did on the base back in the forest, and Vulcan laughs and asks if he's still feeling sore about that one, and then asks him if he's going to report him to the authorities. He then goes on to say that they are in the middle of the Cold War, and it's kill or be killed, and all potential threats must be wiped out, and his feelings are a menace to the unity of their organization. In this moment, the boss then shows up and tells Vulcan that he needs to be careful about suspecting his own men, and says that both the Fear and the N have both died, to which sends Vulcan into another rage and asking how one man could beat the Cobras so easily. The boss then tells him that she will take care of us, and Vulcan then responds by asking what Snake could possibly be after. There is no way that it's just Sokolov at this point, to which the boss says that America is out to destroy the Shagohod, get its hands on your inheritance, and that they are also there to kill her as well. She then tells Vulcan to tighten down the security and rides off by saying that she's going to go retrieve the Davy Crockett. And Ocelot then goes to walk away, but not before getting a whiff of Eva's perfume and tapping his temple and eyeing up Eva before aiming the gun at Eva, saying, "Nice boots, make sure you get them polished properly." And actually cuts down to a shot of the boots where you can see like the wear and tear from when she's shifting up the motorcycle. Obviously here, another nod to Ocelot's character, figuring like there's just, obviously we never know what Ocelot knows until we know what Ocelot knows, right? And so afterwards, we then return to Snake's point of view and make our way towards the base. So here we then make our way to the old tunnel. We are met with our next Cobra unit member, the Fury. This scene opens up with us sneaking through the aqueduct area until the Fury gets the drop on us by spraying his flames everywhere, killing a bunch of bats, and then starting his monologue about how he was one of the first people in space through the Soviet Union, and that when he made his return, he was overcome with this feeling of needing to set the entire world ablaze, and that we will feel the scorching heat that is of the horrible blackness of space, and then our fight begins with the Fury. Here, I actually can't remember if there is any Easter eggs to this fight. I don't believe so. I think this one you just fight straight up. The only thing that I remember is that the old version of this game with the old camera angle was 8 million times harder than the current version with the full camera.
Guess who forgot about the full camera during this fight?
Well,
Yeah.
that'll do it.
So like you only get one angle the entire time down there. So I go back to the back section. I'm like, well, fuck. All I can do is like go in the section and then like aim down that way to see if I can see him or something like that. And it's after a while, I'm like, oh, I forgot. You can just press the little button, the thumbstick, and it goes to the different camera angle.
Yeah,
I didn't do that. I played the old stuff.
Yes, with the new camera stuff, you end up smoking this. It's a lot like the Twin Snakes remake of the Sniper Wolf fight for Metal Gear Solid 1, where being able to have a fully controlled gun in 3D just makes it so that fight ends up becoming a fucking joke. So this is similar to that. Is there anything anybody want to say about this boss fight before we get to the end here?
Yeah, it was dope as shit. Like
Fury's cool.
He looks cool. The environment, like these 3 aqueduct tunnels you have in complete blackness and underground, like it looked cool. It was cool. He was cool. I loved every part about this fight. Running from the flames was cool. Like,
Yep.
just to see him come in and seeing flames come blowing out of a hallway and stuff. Like, this was one of my favorites.
Yeah. He was the hardest boss fight I would say so far that I've had to mess with, just because I mean like it's outside of like strategies and stuff like that. Like I didn't use a strategy for the Hornet guy, but he seemed pretty straightforward. You know, jump on the rock, shoot him a bunch of times with a shotgun, jump down when you need to. But this guy, especially with that camera angle, it's like sometimes I didn't know where he was coming from. I'm trying to get him with like the thermal goggles to see like which alleyway he's in. And like halfway through, like he starts like getting up into the air and you can't really see him at all. So I'm just waiting for him to come into my alleyway and then just try to hit him a bunch of times and then try to jump out of the way before it's too late. But yeah, no, he's definitely one of the more difficult bosses for this game.
Yeah. Okay, so we get to the final shot. On the final shot of the Fury, he stumbles forward and says, "Boss, this is the end of the Cobras," and says that she has to live as the only one left, and that he is off to join the sorrow. And then he bursts into flames and tells us to behold the flames of the Fury, and that the fires of hell will purge him clean. He then starts to hallucinate mission control from his space mission and shoots himself into the ceiling. And then he turns into a giant flame skull that chases after Snake, smashing the exit behind him, and we have to make our way to the fortress from there. I will say, I do love that there is characters like Ocelot during Metal Gear Solid 2, right? He makes those sort of comment, like, there's no such thing as magic in this world, and blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, a giant fucking thing, you're like, okay, yeah, sure, pal, like, whatever you say. With a giant flame skull. It's like that must have just been PTSD. Yeah, so from here, we make our way to the base exterior, and then from there, similar thing. We find a hole in the wall, climb through that. We get into the weapons lab, so the east wing of the section here, and this is where we put the scientist uniform back on, to then go find not Raiden, slam him into a locker, and see his little lightning bolt speedo that we shove him into, which will come into play later. We shove him into a locker, take his stuff, and then we get to run around this whole area as Raiden. And you're basically just, no one questions you. You get to do what you want. There's little items that you can find throughout this whole place, but we basically make our way to the west side of the base, where Sokolov is being held, and ditch our...
I'm sorry, before you go further, I loved how, like, especially at the very end, like, you got the two guards at the door right there. You're crawling, like, you're, like, hunkered down like Snake is. You're, like you're not walking around like a uniformed soldier. You're, like, sitting, like,
you're, like,
sneakily, like, coming, like, and
funny.
then you get up to the guards, he's like, stands up straight, like, soldiers, and he gets right back down to his crouching move and starts going right past them. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man.
It is funny. There's a scene in this, when we were shoving him into the locker, that was also a scene that was used in the trailers. And again, it made people lose they were like, I don't understand why Snake is shoving Raiden into a locker. I don't understand what's happening. Like,
I think there's a special poster in that locker. I think it's of Raiden. I'm not sure.
He has a
poster.
He has a Metal Gear Solid 2 poster that came in the collector's edition, I think.
I saw it, and I'm like, what's that fucking... I'm like, I'll have to roll that back. I'm pretty sure that was a Raiden fucking poster.
Yeah, Raiden is in there. Yeah, it's great. Okay. But yeah, so we make our way to the west side of the base where Sokolov is being held, and we ditch our Raiden mask. And when we approach the room, we see Sokolov handing Eva a storage tape, and then she asks him about the Philosopher's Legacy, to which Sokolov says that he knows nothing about that. And then Eva decides to mess with Sokolov here, acting like she's going to kill him, just to be sure that he doesn't know anything. But then right before she stops, puts lipstick on instead, and then goes to leave. And we avoid her on her way out. We hide. We then go in and confront Sokolov and tell him that we are there to get him out. He calls us a man of honor, just like our commander. But then he says that it's too late, unfortunately, that everything is already finished with the Shagohod. Snake then asks him to explain what Phase 2 actually means for the Shagohod. And Sokolov explains that the problem that they had to solve was how to get the ICBM to be able to cover the distance it needed and be able to be small enough to be able to launch on any kind of terrain. And the problem how they solved this problem was accelerating the Shagohod itself with the rocket boosters, to act as the first stage of the rocket and then launching the missile that way. I will say, of all the pseudo military things that Kojima comes up with, this is actually the one that makes the most sense. Like, it's the same. It's taking a same basic principle of like how a rocket works and just being like, well, if I can't fit the thrusters part of this missile here, like the stage 1 part of the rocket, I'll just make it so that it's going really fucking fast, so that when I do launch it, it can go where it needs to go based on its own thrusters. It's like the one thing of that science that actually, of his science that actually works, as opposed to, making a bipedal robot that shoots nuclear weapons. Or in Metal Gear Solid 2 cases, Metal Gear Ray that, has all the crazy
swims,
shit that it
does
has.
everything else, yeah.
Yeah. But he says that this means that it would never need missile silos or anything to launch anymore, and that it just needs a runway like a plane to be able to launch. Sokolov then goes on to explain that Vulcan's plan is to start another world war with this weapon and launch missiles not only at America, but countries all over Europe as well. Snake then says that the new plan should be to blow up the facility so that the Shagohod can never be mass-produced. And Sokolov says that idea could work, but that the female spy named Tatiana that was just there took all of the C3 explosives with her, and that she told Sokolov that Khrushchev is the one who sent her in there to get close to Vulcan by pretending to be his lover. He then tells us that he also gave her all of the experimental data on the Shagohod as well, and that we have to hurry and destroy this place. We then tell him that we will do it, but he needs to come with us first so that he can get us out, get him out of there. He says that he's no longer going to do that, and that there's no longer any place for him in the world, because even if he returns to the U.S. to go back with his family, they are just going to try to make him make weapons for them, and he does not want to live that life anymore. He then says that all he's ever wanted to do is work on the space race and work on rockets. He's tired of being used to make weapons, and he tells us to protect his family. Before we keep going in this scene, I actually do appreciate that little bit of logic there from Sokolov, because that's 100% true. That's exactly what would have happened. So him just, unlike Otacon, he's just being like, you know what, fuck this. I'm just not going to do this anymore. I'm just not going to be used to make weapons anymore. Just then, Vulcan enters the room, and we hurry up and put our mask back on, and Vulcan asks what the Major is doing here, because he was supposed to be up in Vulcan's room. Then goes to grab us by the junk, and we pull away, and he asks who the hell we are, because we are not the Major, because he is acutely aware of every part of the Major's body, which now we know why
that
he
was
supposed to be meeting him in his room.
Very
specific. We also know why now that he was wearing that little lightning Speedo, and it's very clear that not only does Vulcan swing both ways, but his whole appetite for torture clearly is just all around. Mm-hmm. He then pulls a gun on us, and we don't move, so he shoots Sokolov in the leg, and then Snake breaks out some good old-fashioned CQC and disarms Vulcan completely, proving here that if in certain situations, if you catch Vulcan off guard, clearly he's absolutely no match for a regular person outside of being able to, shoot electricity out. But before we can make our escape here, the boss shows up and gives us an ass whooping again. And then this is one of the lines that has not aged the best, where the boss asks us what this fairy disguise is.
Yeah.
And that that we are wearing it, and tells us that, or asks us what this fairy disguise we are wearing, and then tells us that it's going to rub off on us if we aren't careful, and that we will lose sight of who we really are. Vulcan then goes to shoot us in the head, and the boss disarms him and tells him to stay out of it, once again just beating the shit out of him. Vulcan then says that he can see why she's called the boss, and then says he's going to make us pay for hurting Ivan, but before killing us, and proceeds to beat the shit out of Snake until we black out. So I do want to say, in that little scene there, that line, I remember when I heard it, I went, oof, I'd forgotten about that one. Especially when we know now that Vulcan and this character obviously romantically involved, so then calling Ivan a fairy, they should have just changed it to twink and it would have been fine. But it's not a slur or meant to be an insult.
Not yet.
But was that that wasn't it wasn't a common term back then when the game was made, right? So like I don't know that
A fairy?
no twink.
Yeah.
I don't think
Oh
this is common.
no, I was gonna say fairy was definitely common back then.
No, it was
Twinks
but that's what I mean. Like if I mean he is Japanese, so if your proclivities are one way and the way you feel about things,
Yes.
they weren't always.
I think it's more so.
There's no other word.
That's
than-
what I was gonna say is that you can immediately tell that it was this game
Very
was written in
very
Japan.
Danish.
Yeah, for sure.
I wonder if that line. I would almost imagine that line got changed for Delta. I would
changed to twink.
almost.
Oh, I'm
Oh.
sure they. Yeah,
No, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, I guarantee that. got changed.
I'm sure it did. I can't wait to find out actually, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so anyway, we come to and we still can't see anything, but we hear Sokolov being tortured by Volgin, asking him some of the same questions over and over, with Tatiana pleading with him that Sokolov doesn't know anything and that he needs to stop. We then hear pretty gruesomely Sokolov die. Here he just gets turned into basically like a pulp. And Volgin starts to laugh here, and Tatiana starts to sob and calling Volgin a monster. He then comes over to us and tells us that he hopes that we will be more entertaining than Sokolov, and that he's about to show us what hell is really like, and starts to proceed with the torture here. He then comments that we are tough, but then even we must have our limits, and that he is a patient man. It then cuts to, we can see now inside the torture room, and Volgin splashes us with a bucket of water, and we have a plastic bag tied around our head. And Volgin then tells us that his body carries an electric current of 10 million volts, and starts to shock the shit out of us over and over again. The boss then enters the room and says that this is going to be of no use because we were trained by her to never break, which then sends Volgin into an even bigger fit of rage, and he shocks us again. If I was Snake in this moment, I'd have been like, "Lady, did you have to do that? You could have just not said that." But he then starts to say that this. He then starts to ask us more questions, but inadvertently gives us more details on the Philosopher's Legacy and how it is stored here in the vaults of the
Tells
fortress.
his
And the
whole
boss
story.
and the boss and Tatiana both give each other like a glance while he says this. And Volgin is just keep shocking us. And on the last hit, a transmitter falls out of us, and Volgin asks who is responsible for this. And the boss says that she did it to be able to keep track of our movements so the Cobras could ambush us. And Volgin says that doesn't make any sense because they would have just all been able to jump him if that was the case. And he goes, under the circumstances, he is going to need some proof of loyalty. And it's actually, there's a point where right before he asks for proof of loyalty, he goes, under the circumstances, I'm going to need proof. And Boss sort of jumps at him and is like, you don't trust me? And he's like, no. Because you can tell, even he's like, not, he's like, I don't want to fuck with you. It's fine. I just need you to prove to me that, you guys aren't in cahoots, basically. And he tells us that, or tells her that she needs to cut out our eyes because the most important thing of a soldier is his eyes. And since she was the one who made us, then she will be the one to unmake us. Everybody is visibly uncomfortable by this suggestion. Even Ocelot is like...
It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
And so the boss goes to pull off the bag around our head and starts to take the knife to our eye until at the last minute, Tatiana exclaims for this to stop and grabs the boss's arm. Volgin then asks why she did this and says that it's clear that Snake has suffered enough. Ocelot then jumps forward and says that she is the one that must have been the spy all along. He then goes to grab her, and Tatiana slaps him and tells him to back off, and Volgin remarks that Ocelot must have taken a fancy to her. Ocelot says that he has no interest in her, but he wants to test and see if she's the spy, and then goes again for his little game of Russian roulette. But right before the gun goes off, Snake jumps in the way and gets shot in his eye, and the boss then slaps the shit out of Ocelot and asks if he is satisfied now. Volgin then tells Tatiana that they are going to his room and leaves. Ocelot then punches us in the back and tells us that Volgin's torture doesn't really seem that bad, and that it's the ultimate form of expression. I think this moment is where Ocelot clearly gets a hard-on for torture, like he did in the other two games, because clearly this is just like a thing for him, or a moment for him. But then he tells Tatiana that she got lucky this time and leaves the room. From there, the boss loads a single bullet into the revolver and shoots us in the leg and then tucks it into our belt. Now, here there's a scene where very quickly the R1 button shows up, or the RB button shows up here. You can actually see in this moment, if you press the button, you'll be able to see the Sorrow behind the boss holding up a sign for a frequency that we can read and use to call later in this next section here as one of the different ways that we... Yeah. And then she tells us to run after she tucks the gun in our belt loop here. Eva then comes up and tells us that we need to use the sewers to escape and that she has all of our equipment. And the only thing we need to figure out is how to get out of our cell because she can't get too close. And from there, we come to inside our cell with some options for escape here. So, the jail cell escape scene. We have a couple different things that we can do here. So, there's obviously the frequency that you can call, and that will get them to unlock your cell door. You can make your way out, do your thing. If you pick up some of the items in the room and get you can get the transmitter out of you, different things throughout the cure menu. And actually, there's a hint in this where if you open up the cure menu, you will hear like a little beeping, and that's to let you know that the transmitter is there, and you can use if you use it to get out of you. But if you spin Snake around a bunch in the cure menu, it will make him sick and he will throw up. And then the guard will come and be like, "Oh, dude, did you throw up?" And he's like, "Oh, God." And then he goes to open the gate. And as soon as you open you can take him out, do what you need to do, and leave. The other option here is that if you wait long enough, they will go to deliver you food. And you can pick up the food and then throw it back out of the jail cell. And you can keep doing this over and over before finally one of the guards, who this is... sort of a returning character, but similar, as one of these little Easter eggs, is that Johnny, he's in the first game, he's the one who had the bowel problems in the first game. Johnny in the second game, during Raiden, when you're talking with the president's aide, and you're talking to you're trying to use the directional microphone and listening to Ocelot talk. If you aim it towards the bathroom, you will hear one of the guards having a explosive diarrhea. That's Johnny in there. Again, here, Johnny will show up in this section and be mad at you for throwing the food out and try to come and confront you. You then can beat the shit out of him and then make your way out doing that. And there's also the normal ways that you can do it. You can wait for him to come by and knock him out through all sorts of different methods, right?
And apparently there's one to where you can have an actual conversation with him, about him and his family and stuff like that. You do that a couple times and you have a heart to heart at the gate. And he's like, "Well, maybe you could just let me out." And he's like, "No, I can't do that. What are you talking about like that?" But for me, I don't know what's going on. So we get into that cutscene ends, you saw the numbers. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hit the numbers, and it just opens the fucking door, and shit got. I'm like, okay, well, we're just gonna go forward now.
Yep. Yeah, there's lots of different things in this section. I thought it was good. But yeah, so now that we've escaped, we make our way to the sewers, and on the way down, Eva calls us to tell us that Vulcan has learned of our escape and that the whole fortress is on alert. And because of that, our normal escape that we were going to use with the vehicle with Eva is cut off. And so we just need to try to make our escape for now, and then we'll have to think of a new plan later. From there, we can make our way to the end of the sewers, but only to be caught by Ocelot and his goons. But we make a run for it while they're chasing us. And Ocelot tells everybody to stand down, that he's been waiting for this moment, and he loads the one bullet from before that, when Snake... that got jammed, right? And so he says that he's been waiting for this moment, and he goes and spins the case and then starts to do it. And Snake, after the first shot does not go off, Snake sees no other option at this point and decides that it's time to risk it and jump into the river below. Ocelot then looks over the edge and tells us not to die on him yet, and that we fade to a scene of us wandering through a river, through a forest that is on fire. But then a rainstorm comes through and creates a dense fog all around us. Then a floating man appears before us, and Snake asks him if he is one of the Cobras, to which the man responds that this is all so sad, and that he is a host of many sorrows, and that Snake is one of them. He then says that he is the sorrow, and that like us, he is filled with sadness. He then says that this world is filled with sorrow because battle brings death, and death brings sorrow, and that even though we cannot hear them, the dead are not silent, and that we will know the sorrow of all the lives we have ended. The sorrow's eyes then begin to bleed, and that part of his glasses shatter, and the fight begins. So, here with the sorrow fight, how you have played the game up until this point dictates how this game will go. So, me, as being completely non-lethal the entire time, the only people that are in this river with me are the Cobras. That is it. So you walk down the river, and the sorrow will try to shoot things at you or do little different things, and then otherwise the river will be, if you have killed people up into this, those soldiers will be all over through this river and try to reach out at you, grab you, do damage, whatever. And then same thing with all of the other Cobra units. Now, the Cobra units, even though if you did it non-lethally, still because they died, they are still counted in this thing, right? But it will not actually count as a kill in your game.
The
either way,
only people I had were the bosses. I had no one else.
Yes.
Because I haven't killed anybody.
Yeah.
I haven't killed a single person this whole
now
game.
I did have my river was covered with fish because in the Pains area I did shoot a bunch of fish to be able to capture them. And so I did have fish, and the Sorrow makes this comment where he's like, here's all the creatures you've killed, and it was like 4 little fish that just went by, and it was like, whatever. But yeah, so you go through this, so it can either be as empty or as full as you decide that you want to make it.
So Preston, I take it yours was full, huh?
Chock full.
It was, but if they don't make it too hard. Like, it's not like they don't put like 20 guys in front of you. Like, it's like you got 4 or 5 guys here. There's always some sort of pathway. Maybe might touch you a little bit to siphon some health off you. That's not too bad. Also, like, all the animals that I've like killed as well, they're all flowing through the river as I'm going through, and if those touch you too, that will also drain a little bit of health. But I don't have any problem with avoiding it.
Don't get me wrong, this took me 3 times to do it, and I was getting super pissed because I couldn't figure out how to do it, because I didn't look anything up, remember? I didn't look it up. But that's what was pissing me off. I was like, why am I having to walk down this 5-minute long, empty-ass river just to die at the end for what I can't figure? Because I killed no one. Like, nothing showed up in my game. So that makes sense. That's funny, though. I like that touch.
Yeah, it's good. So we get to the end, though, and we reach the Sorrow's corpse, and right when we touch it, we get a jump scare here, and it's of the Sorrow's face screaming, and then he tells us to wake up. However, we get the death screen here, but we can just take the revive pill, and then we wake up and we wake up floating face down below the surface of the water. But we hear the Sorrow's voice saying, "Boss, you have to shoot me." To which she replies that she can't do it. And then the Sorrow says it again and asks the boss if she wants to finish her mission. And that if she does, she will have to shoot him. We then hear the boss pull up a gun, and the Sorrow says to her, "The spirit of the warrior will always be with you, and do not be sad, and they will meet again someday." The Sorrow's face then fades into the scene, and his eye starts to bleed like before. And as soon as we hear the gunshot go off, his glasses shatter again. And right at that moment, Snake comes to in the water and immediately breaks for the surface. We then pull ourselves to the shore, cough up a bunch of water, and immediately give a call to the Major, who tells us that he can't believe that we survived and that we almost died. He then gives us some background on the Sorrow, telling us that he was a soldier with ESP, an especially gifted medium that worked with the Soviet Union and the boss during World War II. Signet then chimes in and tells us that the Sorrow has already been dead for 2 years by this point, and that the boss is the one who killed him at the bottom of the cliffs that Snake was at earlier, while on mission from the CIA after the end of World War II. He also lets us know that the old code names, because the boss and the Sorrow used to be so close together, is that the boss's old code name before she became the boss was the Joy. So the two of them worked on so many missions together, and they were the Joy and the Sorrow. So two halves of the whole unit that put together the end of World War II. But Eva then calls us, and we tell her what happened. And she says that we are out of control for jumping into the river, but that it works out because she actually knows a great spot to meet up with her in a cave behind a waterfall that's further upstream. And we pause there.
You talked about the, like, you said that nonchalant, like, at the end of that fight, like, oh, you just take the revive pill. Yeah, but, like, if you haven't been faking your death or aren't familiar with this game,
No.
it's not just like,
I did it twice.
pill. No, it's it was really frustrating.
Yeah, the first time, 'cause I do try not to look everything up. Like, so like this one, I'm like, okay, I don't need to look this one up. So I did. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is supposed to do here? Like, I tried to go around it, didn't let me go around it. I'm like, okay, well, I'll touch the dead. I'm like, I looked up, like, oh, you just take the, fucking hell. I'm like, okay, all right. I'm sure if
well,
I
so
had got
the
the
hint
codec
here-
in, the codec would fucking tell me.
No. Jeez. Oh, first of all, the sass that you have about a mechanic in the game that you've learned about for 3 games now is ridiculous. But
And you're still surprised by it
in
every
this,
time.
because you're like, I don't know how someone was supposed to figure this out. But in this particular
even I have
instance-
leaned into it, and I purposely skip stuff and brute force things. So
Yeah.
you know.
In this particular instance, what happens here is that immediately when the snake is dead screen comes up, so normally if you've died before, it just says snake is dead and that's it, right? That just stays there. Immediately when this happens, the letters start to shift around and they will start spelling out the word revive if you watch them.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then obviously it starts to move around. Before you press X, you'd be like, well, let me try all these buttons. And then when you press L2, your fucking menu would pop up and you'd be, oh shit. But yeah, the letters start to move around immediately. So if you've died up until this point, it's supposed to look different than what you've seen before. And then the whole thing goes from there. But yes.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. I'll give it. Yeah. Fair enough. Well, Preston, do you wanna start? How you felt?
I feel good about it. This is boss rush, right? We got through how many bosses? 4 or 5 bosses this way?
I thought five, right?
Yeah, 5.
Yeah, 5. So this is the boss rush. So it's good. I'm liking it. I don't feel the way Alex mentioned earlier on the first part, to where like, it's a little bit of brown and green. It's kind of samey. I feel like we got a little bit away from that here, which is nice. More of the mountainous areas. Going into the mountain, by the way, something we skipped over. So I do try to be stealthy for a little bit. And then if they find me out, I'm like, fuck it, let's see what happens. If I die, I'll try stealthy again. But I don't go in guns a-blazing. So I get a couple guys, I'm like, oop, trank, can I get in them? And I go into the trench, and I turn a corner, and someone's like, oh, hey, look, it's one guy. I'm like, oh, fuck. So I about to bust out the AK. I'm like, all right,
But why?
we're all
why wouldn't
dying.
you
And
just,
then I get...
Why wouldn't you just trank him? It's the same thing.
Because he's seen me, he's already alerted. The caution thing and everything has popped up here, so I'm like, okay, well now I'm just gonna kill everybody. So you pull the AK because I don't have the aim the AK.
You
I
ruined
can
this
just-
for everybody.
Yeah, it's like we could have done it
It's gonna be a
safely.
bad day. Yeah.
So then I jump on the fucking gun turrets and I'm taking down helicopters and dudes on these little. One of the first guys you see, he's on these weird fucking little like hover like pads, and you guys sitting there hanging around. I'm like, okay, well I'm taking out some dudes on the cliffside. I'm like, I see that guy. I'm like, okay. So I shoot him with a trank gun, not thinking that he's controlling the damn thing. So he just goes, "Meh," crashes, and like, yeah, there's somebody over there. I'm like, fuck. So there's a lot of fun things I'm finding out with this, but it's. I mean, I don't hate that I'm not stealthing. It's fine. I try a little bit, and if it doesn't work out, I'm on easy mode. Bust out the AK, brother, and we'll be good.
Can I say that in my mind, you know the clip of Russell Crowe? I don't know what movie or TV show it's from, but there's a clip of Russell Crowe from something that he's in that is going viral where it's him in front of he's in a car and he rolls down the window and he's like, I don't think you know what a bad day is. And then he's like, well, you're going to find out. All I can think of is when somebody gets alerted to Preston's presence and he pulls out the AK and he's like, that scene where he's like, you're about to find out what a bad day is. Like,
I think it's from The Good Guys. If you haven't seen it, it's a really funny movie.
It's an incredible movie. It's great.
So, yeah, I don't want to act like I'm the stealthiest person. I too am going in guns blazing. That gun is just a trank gun. So like
Sure.
I'll walk up and I'll be like, oh, I see somebody over there. Trank. Like even the desert or the mountain scene when I got to the mountain, I saw one guy perched in the corner trying to snipe first. So I trank him and he falls. And then in the distance I see like alerted. I'm like, what did I alert? And then like 4 people come running over the hill. Well, they're so far as trank. Moving on, like, right? So
Much faster if you just pass out the AK though.
I should say
I'm
also
sure.
for this part, if you did the non-lethal version for the end, Alex, I don't know if you you probably got it, but I don't know if you're using it. But his sniper rifle is a non-lethal sniper rifle.
Yeah, I use it to take out that sniper in the corner.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because you can use that to really clear out areas before you even walk into them.
Yeah, I've done that a couple places. Maybe even in the factory part. Like I walked up on top of the like one of the buildings.
There's
We're
not as
trying to,
many
like,
people
look
for
around
us. It's kind of easier to
Yeah.
like, just take out a couple guys.
But yeah, so that's been my MO is lethal weapons till the final couple of shots, and then I don't want to overdo it, so I'll do non-lethal after I've gotten everybody's camo, except for the very first or second boss we did in the first playthrough, because you didn't tell us about that until
So
after.
Ocelot, you didn't get it for
Sure.
Ocelot.
I didn't do it for Ocelot, but everyone else I've done it for. And I'm gonna keep going. So it's cool. I like seeing them. I haven't changed my camo at all because I'm actually trying to play according to the area I'm in. Like I'll swap to desert and forest. But yeah, man. So far, like the biggest praise I can give this game, because I have not played Kojima until we started doing this, and now I've played bunches of Kojima. The biggest praise I can give this game is like I actually want to play it. Like the sassy message that you alluded to in the weekly episode the other day was like me saying like I'm irritated that I have to wait on you slowpokes to play it. I know I was out of town. That wasn't actually true, but like I really enjoy this game. I'm really excited to play it. I want to keep playing it. I want to go to the next part. So the bosses are great. It is the best game in my opinion in the series so far. I've had a lot of fun with it, and I'm interested enough to like check out Delta, the remake, just to see how it plays. But we got to finish this one first.
Kojima said
Yeah.
he wasn't going to play that.
He did say that.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Honestly, I doesn't even that doesn't. I know people were treating that as like some giant hot take. I think
No,
the,
that's not.
the
I don't care.
the relationship that he has with Konami after Konami did him extremely dirty and making him do all these. It does not shock me
Not
that
to
he
mention,
does not want to be a part of that.
He created
whatsoever.
that game. You know how many times he's probably played that fucking game? There's not going to be anything
Yeah,
new outside
seriously.
Well, that's
outside of Ava
what he
Escape
said.
fucking thing. So who doesn't care?
Yeah.
And that's what I said. He's like, I know multiple ways to kill everybody. It's what he said, right? Like it's
Yeah.
He's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Good.
Cool. Yeah, I'm this. It's right now. It's just hitting all those things. Like, if I had recordings of my gameplay for it, it would just look like I know exactly what I'm doing and where I'm going, because I do. I've played this game a bunch. It's my favorite one. It's making its case to stay that way when I'm replaying through all of these. But I other than all of the other reasons, is that I truly actually do think that there's a lot of interesting like sort of themes and story points that is going on between Snake and the boss, and what it like all that stuff means, and different things like that we'll talk about towards the end. But yeah, no, I dig this game a bunch. I think that this cast of villains is definitely the stronger one of the games that we've played before or played here, outside of the Fear. I think he sucks, but he doesn't suck as bad as Vamp, but he still sucks. But all the other ones I think are great, and they all have interesting, fun backstories that you can call on the codec about and get all these other things. Either way,
It's boss heavier than other games too. Like, I mean, I don't know how many are in
Yes.
the last part, but we've played.
I think this
we've done
game-
6 boss fights already.
yeah, it really is like I know we were spending a lot of times talking about the cutscenes and all this other stuff through here, but there is a lot of gameplay in this section. Like, and in this game in particular, like there is tons of gameplay that's happening. But yeah, so Alex, to say that you were excited to finish it, well, I have great news, is that we will be finishing it. So this next section will be similar in length to the first one, not this one, but the first one that we did, because there's the final area and then obviously like the ending. So it'll be smaller than, or it'll be similar to the first section that we played. But yeah, we will be finishing the game. So we will be finishing Snake Eater this next time, and
Cool.
then it'll be time for our next book club game to be announced. So
Mhm.
Yeah, cool. All right, everybody. You don't have to smile. You know what I'm picking. We've already said. We know what my next
Actually,
game
to
is.
be fair, I was waiting for you to be like, well, who's gonna do the book club next time?
No,
I don't
no,
know.
that's okay.
So that's what I was waiting for. Like,
Preston and I,
gonna ask?
Preston and I were smiling because I was waiting for Alex to be like, "Yeah, Preston, what are you gonna pick?" Like I thought
Yeah,
for sure
I'm
that's
waiting
what was
for it
gonna
No,
happen.
on a normal day maybe, but Preston's been way too sassy, so I am on point tonight.
There you go.
Thank you.
There you
Thank
are.
So, cool. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. Don't forget, if you didn't listen to our episode earlier in the week, go back and listen to that. But we'll be back at you next week with a new episode, and we're gonna finish this up, our final part of Metal Gear Solid 3, and then of course, as always, check Preston out on Sunday. I know he really wants to eat, so I'm just dragging out this ending. He's like, please, for the love of God, finish that.
Teddy wants to eat.
Thank-
You're keeping the dog from eating, just so you know.
Oh, that's mean. Well, in that case, Preston, you know what to do.
Hit it.
Thank you for listening to another episode of The Testing Room. To catch up on past episodes or to check out the newest ones when they drop, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcast. If watching is more your thing, check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/@thetestingroom, or watch us live on twitch.tv/testingroomlive. To leave comments or ask questions, you can follow us on Instagram @testingroompod, leave a comment on YouTube, or send them in to testingroompod@gmail.com. See you next time.